Hey everybody, it's John Barrowman here, and you are listening to Tomorrow's Legends with Martin the Flash, Harley Quinn, and X-Force 11. Now you all may know me as playing Malcolm Merlin, and here's a little something for you. Every warrior must learn the simple truth that pain is inevitable, suffering is optional.
During a trip through time, the Legends were forced to land the Waverider in Blue Valley, Nebraska, where they discovered a young superhero.
Yes.
About to take flight.
That's cool.
Who are you?
I'm Stargirl.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. Welcome to our coverage of Stargirl Season 3, Chapter 7, called Infinity Inc. Part 1, where we take a break from the murder mystery this week, which was, in my opinion, much needed, as that story was kind of going nowhere, while this episode takes us to all kinds of new places, and I am quite relieved the Flash.
And I'm using my Blue Lantern light to dispel Obsidian's darkness, X-Force 11.
And now, here are your hosts, the Scarlet Speedster himself, the Flash, the Maid of Mischief Harley Quinn, and the Blue Beacon of Hope, X-Force 11.
Hello, Legends.
Well, hello, Gideon. Yeah, and you guys might be going, wait, you missed Harley. But, no, we did not. Harley has come down with some type of flu, cold, something or other, and she has no voice to speak with tonight, so.
Yeah, just the two guys this week.
Just the fellas tonight, so wish Harley well. She should be back on her feet by next week for us, but yeah, it's just the two guys tonight as we get into this episode of Stargirl. But you got some news first. Let's do that.
We interrupt this podcast for a special report.
So a little bit of casting news. Joel McHale, our Starman, is the new star of a Fox comedy.
Yeah.
So it looks like Starman will be out of Blue Valley, either leading a new team or in a casket for a second time. I personally hope they send him off so he can return in guest spots, although reading some of the future episode titles, I don't know about that. But happy for him. He's leading that comedy, and it looks like it's kind of interesting type of spin on things. So, congratulations to him on that.
So now it makes me wonder what came first. Like, did he get approached by Fox to, we've got a new show, we want you to be the lead, and he's like, okay, Stargirl, I'm taking on this new role because it's my show, I'm not going to be a guest spot anymore, and they're like, okay, well, we got to write you off the show, or was it, all right, John McHale, we're going to write you off the show, and now he's got to look for another job, and he lands the new comedy. I wonder which way it happened.
Well, this season he's always billed as guest starring, so he's always been a guest star, and I personally think they never intended him to be in past this season other than, maybe some guest spots. So yeah. I think it's one of those things like they're bringing him in for the year because that's what the storyline kind of needed and worked with. And so either way, it would work. So I don't know specifically which came first as far as the offer. But I honestly believe they intended this for just a guest star for the year.
Yeah, and with your ideas of hoping that he gets to go off and lead a new team, or he decides to quit superheroing altogether, the fact that they don't kill him off so that he can come back in a guest spot, that's a good idea, because we talked about on the show over the last couple of weeks that they can't have them both anyway. They can't have Stargirl and Starman. It just doesn't work. Otherwise, you're stealing the thunder from her. This is her show. So something has to happen to him, whether he quits and moves on or he dies. And I could see them doing the death route because, he comes back, he's born again, he's going to prove himself, he helps Stargirl get on a better path, and then he has to sacrifice himself to save the kids, maybe. Like, I can see them doing that. That's still a possibility, but, yeah, who knows?
Yeah, we'll see. Next up, several sources are saying that the season finale of Stargirl will be Wednesday, December 7th. And so it looks like they're taking the break the week of the U.S. Thanksgiving. And so they'll have the last episodes after Thanksgiving. And so that kind of answers some questions for us. So, we're not going to be pushed in trying to record over the Thanksgiving break and losing, ratings that way. So that makes sense. So
yeah, that's true. And I mean, it's Thanksgiving too, so
yeah.
They didn't care about Canadian Thanksgiving, but you guys, you get to have it off. And then you got something here about our viewership numbers, which looks...
Yeah, okay. So we were number 3 for the week on the CW, with Stargirl coming in at 423,000. So I think we were behind Walker and maybe the Winchesters, or maybe both of the Walker series. But either way, we were third, but still pretty good numbers. So.
Yeah, that's better. So whatever happened those 2 weeks, who knows? But if we're averaging just under 5 or 500,000, that's decent for Stargirl.
Yeah, and still no news yet about a new season. Nothing. I haven't seen anything.
Me neither.
From the cast or anything like that. I know I've seen some pictures of people here and there, so I don't think they know anything yet either. So as soon as we find out about a new season, we'll let you know.
So how about next time, don't tell us. We'll know by the end of September. Don't give us a date. Don't give us an ultimatum, because we're expecting to know.
Yeah, exactly. And that was for the cast. If we need to tell you so you can get up here to start filming. So
so maybe they know, and they're contracted to not say anything. So
yeah. Could be. And I didn't include this in the news here, but please keep an eye on our Facebook group. There's some articles in there about Superman and Lois, some of the breakdowns of who the villains are, and ins and outs on the upcoming season. We still don't have a firm start date. We're guessing end of January, beginning of February.
Right.
But more information is coming out as they are in the midst of filming.
Yeah. So that's good. Yeah, always check out the Facebook page, because lots of things get posted there to keep you in the know. And it usually gets up there before, in between podcast recordings. So
yeah.
And there's one thing I wanted to bring up that I didn't add in the notes here too, is we posted a link to one of those new articles of a quote unquote possibility of a new X-Men series coming out. And the thing is this was posted on a pretty legit X-Men fan site on Facebook, and it came from a reliable source, but Marvel themselves have not endorsed or released the information or made the announcement. So it's kind of a question mark as to whether this is truly official news or not. But the whole idea behind it was that there might be, what Marvel might be doing is releasing solo X-Men shows on Disney Plus. So whether it's 3 episodes or a run of 6 or whatever, each character that they're planning to have in the X-Men world, now that Marvel has the rights again, is going to get their own little mini-series before they put them all together to make an X-Men movie. And that I know this is mostly a DC podcast that we have here, but I love the X-Men. Between the X-Men and Spider-Man, that's all I read. That's everything I cared about growing up reading comic books. I love the X-Men passionately, and if they're going to get a weekly series based on one character at a time, I propose the idea that we cover it here on Tomorrow's Legends, because I think Tomorrow's Legends can just expand and be able to cover that, and I think it would be a lot of fun. So we're talking behind the scenes about ideas and how we're going to do that. So let's just kind of keep that on your radar, guys. If there is an X-Men series, we are looking to get into it and just add a little bit of Marvel flavor to our show here. Yeah.
I mean, we're fans of the comics. I grew up, obviously, from my username.
Yeah.
New Mutants was the first real one that I got into, and that drew me into the X-Men world, and was a big fan of Excalibur as well, and different ones like that. And so I'm kind of geared up. They're doing a continuation of a run that I really enjoyed, the Extreme X-Men. They're going back and doing a sequel that takes place directly after it, so it wouldn't be in modern times. And so, there's just some good stuff out there. They're just playing with a lot of different eras and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And we're comic book fans. We're going to dig into it. So.
Oh, yeah. And who knows what generation of X-Men they're going to pull from, if they pull from all the ideas or...
Yeah.
Because they're all... And I'm wondering what their plan is, because they also are releasing X-Men 1997, right? They're doing a new animated series.
Yeah, basically continuing where that animated series left off.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I'm going to have to do a rewatch of that, the original X-Men 92, just to get ready for the new one. And I mean, I loved it. That was one of the best cartoons of the day back then. Because they did an authentic version of Rogue, and I loved it. Because you guys know Rogue is my favorite. So if they continue that and pick it right back up, that'll be great. So there you go. Keep your eye on that. Let's get into our impressions and ratings of the show.
Gathered together from the cosmic reaches of the universe.
Look at these numbers this week. Ha!
Yeah.
That's hilarious. We are
all in line this week.
We are totally in line this week.
So I gave this one 8.5 Obsidian Blast to the Shadowlands. So we knew that this was going to be part one of a two-parter. And this one left me wanting to see the next chapter, and that's a good thing. We've been waiting since last season to actually see Mr. Bones and the Jade and the Obsidian storylines.
Yeah.
Now, I thought Mr. Bones had Obsidian helping him in Blue Valley with the murders and the different things going on, but that's not the case after seeing this episode. I still have so many questions, and I'm ready for next week to get some of those answers.
Totally. Yeah, no, I'm with you on all those thoughts. And then I'll read Harley's, because I think going through the notes, you're going to be taking over a lot of Harley's thoughts here. She did manage to get her ideas down. So Harley rated this 8.5 as well, connections between dark and light. And she said, I was also left wanting more, especially with the new storyline, since we've been waiting for them to appear all season. I was right, it looks like Jade's powers and the Shade's powers are tangled together, which is why he is unable to heal or use his full powers. We learned Jennie can't use her powers reliably for the same reason. I think we've all sorted out that they need Todd to fix them both, so I'm excited to explore the twins' connection next week. All we know is Jennie connects to the light and Todd connects to the dark, and I'm ready for more. So yeah, she's right in line with you. And then I land also on an 8.5, new refreshing storylines. Well, I didn't know how much the murder mystery of Nowhere was dragging me down until we get this episode that veered away from that potential train wreck. And I was more entertained by everything than the rest of the season so far. We got some great origin stuff for the twins. We got Shade back. We get the best effects of the season so far, as they wowed us with some beautiful, amazing visuals. And I think this is the best episode of the season.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah, there you go. So triple 8.5s. Not bad. Let's dive into our talking points.
Meanwhile, at the Hall of Justice.
So, starting off with the JSA, because it was kind of a split storyline. Everyone was trying to play it cool when Beth shut down the power, and this was pretty funny. These, it was fun watching everybody and getting some little insight into what they do in their downtime, what they're doing when we're not watching the show. So I love the play acting and seeing who was good at it and who was not good at the play acting.
Totally. They were such fun scenes. Just everybody, like you said, everybody was off in different locations, and they were all trying to act it out and play it out. And it was just fun. It was just really fun to see them kind of doing something. I think I might bring this up a lot of times in the episode, but they're just doing something a little different. They're just having fun with it. They were in a situation where they had to pretend. And like you said, each character, and therefore each actor, got to do something a little bit different, and it just made it for, even though it's a harrowing situation because they don't know who's watching them, it was still fun, and they still got to make light of the situation, and it made it good for us as viewers. It was fun.
Yeah, definitely, and I love getting to see Beth do her thing with technology. But I really feel like, to be a hero, she needs something more if she's going to be out in the field. It's just, she's got those skills, but in order to make her more than like an Oracle style character, they've got to give her something more.
No, I'm totally with you, and we always keep calling back to Oracle. Oracle is the position she should be in, because when she's out in the field, I mean, the one thing she's good for is with her goggles, she can spot things that nobody else can see.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool, but she's also endangering the team and endangering herself because she can't protect herself. Someone's always going to have to step in and be a shield for her, because there's nothing that she can do if a fight breaks out. And that's the tough spot that she's in. What do you do with this character?
Mm-hmm.
Because she's very helpful as, with her technology-based gadgets and what she can see and what she can pick up and what she can learn, and because she's super smart. But she's a hindrance to them when she's out there with them. And I don't know how we find the balance for Beth. I just keep picturing her having this, beautiful base of operations. Like picture her like Felicity on Arrow. Like, that's a perfect spot for her. Hang out at the base, have all the tech in front of you, and be leading the team from that station. Is how I imagine Beth.
Yeah, the thing about it is her comic character has a different costume, and she also has, I think, martial arts skills, so she can bring those type of things to the table. Now, granted, that is a young adult character, so this years older than she is now. But yeah, they've got to do something if they're going to have her out in the field so that she is not so much of a liability. I agree.
Yeah. So and you know what? Maybe, an interesting path for her character to take, because there is one thing that I'm finding this season is that our character stories are kind of halted. They're a little bit stagnant, and we don't see any progress happening with our characters right now from season 3 to season 1. And what I see a good path for Beth is that maybe when she is out in the field, the team isn't able to protect her, and maybe she does get hurt. Maybe something does happen to her, and they realize that, or Beth herself realizes, I got to learn to protect myself, and have somebody start training her, because like you said, she is young. She hasn't grown up yet. So let's see that process of her starting to train in some fighting skills. And that's a good progression for her character. And then by the end of the season or by next season, we can see that, hey, she can handle herself if needed. The other thing that I want to ask for about her is to just update her costume already, because I think she looks so silly. Like, her costume drives me crazy.
Yeah, there's a fan petition going around, around on Twitter to give her comic book, outfit, which is very... It's kind of the opposite. It still has a cape, but it's very light costume and things like that, and less, trying to fit into that mold as before. So,
okay, yeah, I'm trying to look her up. I actually don't know what her costume looks like. I see the guy's costume. What's her variant of it?
So it's like, I just saw a picture the other day. It's fairly light colored, all standard, like spandex looking top and bottom, and then it does have a cape on it, I think. Okay. But anyway,
cool. Yeah, if they do update it, she needs it. She just looks ridiculous.
Yeah,
come on.
And that's part of the thing of moving past, of making the character your own, and moving past where having to look exactly like the person that came before you. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, next up is Yolanda, and Harley brings up this, says, as much as I dislike Yolanda's mom, I'm glad they closed the loop on her catching on that Yolanda isn't always at the diner when she says she has to work late. I'm really at odds with her character. I feel bad for her because her parents suck. But then I'm over her animosity towards Cindy and Courtney. I'm sort of struggling with how to handle her character. One moment I feel bad for her, the other moment I want to smack her. And so, I totally agree with you, Harley. I don't want her family to be a bad stereotype, but I feel like they are one at this point, and it doesn't look good. I truly want there to be some motivation behind what her mother is doing and how her mother is acting. I know Yolanda's selfie in season 1 that Cindy shared with the public brought dishonor to their family. We know that has, and we know that their family has money trouble because this season them talking about them selling their house.
Yeah. We
all know the pressure that she's having, to be Wildcat, and that's weighing on her. But it's still two-dimensional, and that's on the writers for not giving us enough. Let's sacrifice some time from Mike and Jakeem and to get more fleshed out on the main characters. I think that's really what we need to do, is focus, like you said, Flash, about the character development of our main characters. Let's get some movement of their characters.
Yeah, I'm totally with you, because I think taking time away from Mike and Jakeem to flesh out the team that we have would be the best decision to make, because what we're stuck with this season is Wildcat being nothing but mad. She's just mad about everything. She's mad about her life. She's mad about Cindy. That's all we've seen is this stupid teen angst drama of her not trusting Cindy, and she hasn't been able to do anything else. And then we get this big scene with her mom here, and all it tells me is that her mom has fast become the most hated mom on all of TV. Like, she's over the top bad. It's just awful. And then to make things worse, to me, Yolanda and her mom, these two actresses, they have no chemistry on screen with each other to make it that believable. Like, it just seems so stiff and rigid between the two of them that their scenes fall flat, and it makes me dislike the mom character even more. I don't think the mom character is that great of an actress, so she's not even selling that. It's just making me mad watching it and going, oh my god, like I don't need to see this. Yes, I feel bad for Yolanda. I don't want her to have to deal with it. I can't stand the way her mom treats her. It's like that is some, I don't know how you can describe it. It's just not good. And it makes sense why Yolanda is always unhappy and always upset. She's got this pent up, disappointment in her own life that I think she's expressing through her hatred of Cindy. But we need to flesh that out some more. We need to give her some more time to develop that. Maybe I don't know if Courtney could help her with that or not. I have no idea. But it's just not working. It's not working.
Yeah, I mean, they've written it now that Yolanda's going to be living with them, and so we see that at the end of the episode, because basically she gets kicked out of the house because she didn't want to give up her phone. So basically, now she's not going to have to really sneak out because she's going to be with people who know the secret. But I agree with you. I hope there's some type of dynamic of them learning and growing, and maybe this is another area where we can have some adult talk one-on-one, to give them maybe talking to mom and talking about what's going on. I don't know, but it's still flat. I agree, because they just don't have the time to develop that relationship. So I don't know.
Yeah. Was that a for sure guaranteed thing? She is moving out to move in with Courtney, because all her mom was saying, well, if you don't like it, go move in with Courtney or something.
She shows up on the Dugan Whitmore household, and she says, I didn't know where else to go. I don't have anywhere else to go. So basically she's kicked out.
Did I turn away from the TV? Why can't I remember that last moment? Did I?
Yeah, because it was just the three of them there, because they were still everybody else was gone, but
yeah,
so yeah.
Well, let's hopefully if she is living with Courtney now, maybe we will not have to deal with her mom's story anymore. Maybe that's the end of it for a little while.
Yeah, and maybe they can give some more time next season. I don't know, but they need to give more time just to flesh out characters.
Yeah.
All right. Next up is Rick, And it sure looks like Rick has come to like his 24-hour power. And I think this definitely spells trouble, and he may possibly be addicted to it as we suspected. And I said, yes, I think he's addicted, and he will have to learn the hard way why his dad put the limiter in. You know, I think it would be tempting as a young hero to have no limits. Mm-hmm. Plus, not having a father or mother around to temper him is making the situation worse. So this is going to be a dangerous situation here.
Yes, because he's got nobody to help rein it in. I mean, poor Beth is having to witness it, and she doesn't know what to say or do for him, right? So it's, I'm totally with you. Like, yes, as a teenager, you're right in that mindset. You think you know better than everybody else. You think you're always right. Mm-hmm. And now you get all this power and, strength. Like, he's going to go off the deep end with it. And I think he's either going to hurt someone or he's going to break something meaningful that's going to make him realize that he's addicted. One of those two things is going to happen, and that's where it's going to be a slap in his face, like, oh, you guys might be right, because he's going to feel really, really guilty about whatever it is he ends up doing.
Yeah. And, I wonder if this is what they're going to do with the story, if they are going to, like, look at him being driven by his emotions like we were seeing this week, and those needs, and see a comparison to Grundy. Maybe that will help him get back on track, because he is seeing that he is being more like Grundy and being driven by just like the base emotions and needs. And that will get him back on track to trying to get Grundy back to life. I don't know if that's how they're going to bring that story back in. That's just my thoughts of he's looking at himself and seeing Grundy and seeing, that he needs to change.
And I love that idea, because maybe while this is all happening, Grundy does wake up, and maybe Rick doesn't quite snap, or he does fully snap, and he can't control himself. He's almost like Hulk raging. He gets more, and maybe it's Grundy that actually comes in and stops him.
Wow, yeah,
that could be cool.
Yeah, that would be an interesting counterpoint to season 1, where Rick had to stop Grundy.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and all Grundy will say, friend.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, love it. All right. We get another great Zeke scene this week with him helping Jakeem with the magic and the wishes. And it makes it seem like, it's not, he's saying it's not just about the wording of the wish, but the heart and intent behind it of the wish. And Harley likes that. She says it totally explains why it actually worked in season 1, and they haven't been able to use it well since. Whoever did the wish at that time was all in on the heart behind the wish. So and that's again, here's Zeke, just this lowly junkyard mechanic. You don't think much of him, but yet he's got this wisdom. He's able to see things that other people are able to see. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. Yeah. And I find it fun that he is trusted by everyone, because he seems to know everything about everything. I really don't know what's going on there, but everyone's told him everything, or he's in on everything. He's at all the team meetings now. Like, he knows everything. So he's obviously proven his trust. Right. Or that he can be trustworthy. So it's so funny. And speaking of getting more scenes, like, let's devote some time to that. Let's see why Zeke is trusted. Where did that come from? Because he just showed up at the shop door to help Pat one day, and he kind of forced his way in. So where did that develop that they can trust him so much? Yeah. I appreciate that a whole lot, because he just brings so much to it. So, all right, next up is the bulk of this section that we were excited about this episode. It's the Jade and Obsidian section. Yeah. And we see that Todd and Jenny are pulled apart, literally, after the death of their dad. They are, and we learn they're twins. And I don't know in the comics if they're twins. I can't remember, but I don't think I realized it even in this storyline when we got backstory that they were twins last season. I don't know if we knew that.
Yeah.
But I knew we would get more backstory in these 2 episodes, but I was really surprised by what we got. I thought in this genre that Todd was going to be the bad boy from the start. He was going to be the bad, the worst one of the 2 from the start, and that's not what we got. And Harley chips in and says, I like this take on it. I was happy to see he wasn't a villain at the start, and that the Helix Institute appears to be very gray. I'm definitely ready to learn more about Mr. Bones and Nurse Love. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you as well. Like, we got, and that's what made this episode so good, is we got so much information that we weren't expecting to get, because I think it's such a contrast, and this is what I was saying in my opening monologue. It's such a contrast to where we are. Our normal characters are feeling very underdeveloped, like they're stagnant. And then we get this storyline of Jade and Obsidian, and it's just like, boom, here's all this origin stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's great. Like, this is just great stuff to show their beginnings, where they came from, what happened to them, why are they separated, why is she trying to find them? Like, they got separated at the orphanage or whatever it was. They pulled them apart. And I think a good origin story goes a long way to building connection to the characters. For us, the viewers, it allows us to connect to them because we understand what happened and we understand why they're behaving the way they are or whatever's going on. And I think for Todd, I think he's going to have trouble controlling his darkness, because you thought he was going to be a bad boy all along. So it looks like he was just a good kid, maybe up to no good, breaking into a building and doing whatever, but he's just a normal teenager. I mean, we've all done silly things that maybe aren't, perfectly accepted as lawful.
Yeah.
I've hopped fences to go through other people's backyards and do things like whatever. You do stuff when you're a teenager.
Yeah.
But so I think he's going to have trouble controlling his darkness, because that's what it looked like to me. He doesn't know what's happening to him. This just happened when she ignited the ring. All of this started happening to him, so he has no idea what's going on. And they got him strapped down to a table, and we're going to talk about all of that. But these things are happening to him, and he doesn't know what's going on. He's not going to be able to control it, and I think he's going to do things that he doesn't mean to. And I think because of that, he's going to be mistaken for being a bad guy, being mistaken for being some type of villain or dark demonic entity of some kind, when he's just out of control because he has no idea what's happening to him. And so I think that's going to be a good story, is watching him struggle with, doing these things and then trying to dial it back. I didn't mean to do that, but he can't because his power is in control and he's not.
Right. Yeah, I agree, and I think it's very cool that in the comics that I read, Obsidian got used by other villains, and the Shade was able to help, and others were able to help out. And he wasn't like a true villain in himself. He was just misled and pulled in other ways. And I'm interested to see where they go with that. And so it's going to be interesting to see this dynamic, because when Jenny put on the ring, like you said, it sparked both of their powers, with her tending toward the light and him tending toward the darkness. And I'm wondering, was this intentional by whoever separated them to make them more easily able to be manipulated here? Because if they weren't around each other, they couldn't balancing each other out. And Harley brings that up, being separated for a very specific reason. They were kept apart, so maybe their powers couldn't spark each other. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm wondering the reasoning and who was behind separating them.
Well, yeah, so there's a couple of references here. Like, it's a very Wonder Twins type of connection, which is great because the Wonder Twins, that's what me and Harley first started as.
Yeah.
they need to work together. Their powers are greater when they're together. So it's something like that. But it also reminded me of, if you watched the X-Men TV show called The Gifted.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The Strucker twins.
Yes.
They each had their own individual ability, but when they were together, it was amplified and way more powerful. And I wonder, like you were just saying, you and just both said, like, maybe these twins, they got separated so they could be manipulated individually, because when they're together and their powers grow, they might not be able to be separated. So I think that's a very cool idea, and that's why this episode, again, was so good, because it just brought all of this intrigue back into our show, because it was feeling so, quote-unquote, stagnant. I'm going to say that probably 10 times this episode. So it just brought some fresh ideas and fresh story, and I got excited for what's going on with these two. And as you were describing the darkness and the light, it made me think, picture them like the yin yang sign, where half of it is a red curve, or black curve, and half is a white curve, but within each of the curves there is a little circle of the other color. So within the black curve there's a small dot of white, and in the white curve there's a small dot of black. So that's what I think, if he is going to lean towards the darkness because they got separated, there's still that little hope of light in him that she's going to be able to pull on. And maybe he somehow, in seeing him struggling, maybe it brings the darkness out in her, and she starts to use her Green Lantern power to, cause a bit of destruction in her fight to try to save him. I think. Well,
and I mean, we have seen both last season and this one, her struggling with her emotions. It's it's the emotions that power her powers. That's the emotional spectrum is what the rings of power are based on.
Right.
And we have seen that with her not being able to be in control. And I think it is simply because she has the ring that she's a little more balanced out than he is, because he doesn't have that as much. And so I think I really like your analogy there. They've both got that within them, and they're both struggling, but they need each other to help balance things out. Yep. I like that a whole lot.
Too.
Yeah. So Mr. Bones and the Helix Institute knew exactly where to find Todd. And at first it seemed like they wanted him to use his powers, but when we see the current day, it looks like they were doing the world a favor by containing him. So, it's just interesting to see, like, okay, they're going to use him, they're going to manipulate him, and then they start seeing what he's doing, and they're like, okay, we've got to contain things down. And Harley says it felt like that they were waiting for him, and they knew when he would turn 18, which means I guess they also knew that his sister would get the ring and activate their powers. Otherwise, why would they be out there looking for him? So it just gives you insight that they've been playing the long game.
But my question is, how did they know? How does Mr. Bones know all of this about them? Like, because he knew a lot about it. He knew everything. He knew about their dad and their powers. Mm-hmm. That's the only question that I had from all of this. Yeah, yes, it was all super fascinating, but how does Mr. Bones know everything? Did he? And maybe this is your comic knowledge. Like, did he work with was it Alan Scott?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did he work with him at one time? Where is like, I know a lot of times bad guys and good guys know a lot about each other. That's why they make such good rivals to each other. But it didn't show us why because they're just introducing Mr. Bones and his nurse. It doesn't show us how they know so much information about these people, and it just makes me question some of that, because what were they doing with Obsidian? Were they trying to hold him back? But to what end? Like, that seems like a good guy thing to do. Okay, well, this kid is dangerous. Let's contain his power until he knows how to control it or whatever. But then you look at the way they were doing it. He's tied down to a table, and they're subjecting him to some type of light therapy that ended up really being torture. And that, to me, is not helpful, because now whatever darkness is in this kid, you are just ramping that up inside him, because you're hurting him and putting him under this constant torture and pressure that it's going to just boil over into the way that you don't want. So I just don't get the Mr. Bones storyline. Is he good? Is he bad? Is he gray? Why is he doing this? That's where all my questions come from.
So think of him in the same vein as a powered Amanda Waller. Like, he is very connected, on top of things, in the know. He is very political. He has powers and abilities. He worked with Infinity Inc. in the comics. But, like, the comic runs that I know him from were when he was the director of the DEO, and he was basically forcing Batwoman and other people to work with him because of blackmail, because he has all this insight into people. So he's very much an Amanda Waller type of character, where he's doing things that are for the best, but he is using very manipulative means to do them. So, like, he's a gray character, but, like, he delves into that dark side of things. So he is very much that character in the comics. He is not, not somebody that you want to work well with. I mean, that you want to work with, but you kind of have to. And see, that's what's leaving me questioning. Like, I think they knew that info because he had done his research, and that would make sense of if he is a man in the shadows, which we'll get to later, he's keeping an eye on things. But, like, they're pulling Todd in because, like, okay, he's got powers, let's mold him, let's use him to our own abilities. And my thinking is, like, they didn't realize how powerful he is. And yeah, that light therapy was torture, and I agree, but in their mind, it's the only control that they had to keep him from, like, they were basically told Todd that, like, if he didn't have that light therapy, like, the world was in danger. So, it's a form of control in their mind of what they're doing. So I don't know how they're going to spin it here, but he is very much a gray character that is very manipulative.
Okay. And that makes sense, but I mean, Todd just got his abilities, and they nabbed him and already put him under this light therapy torture. Like, how do they know that he's going to be a danger to the world? How do they know what the extent of his abilities are? Like, is this something they've seen before? Is this something they knew was going to happen to him? Like, it seems like they have a vision of the future of where he's going to end up, and that's why they're trying to prevent it. So it's like,
yeah,
he just got his powers.
Yeah, I mean, 6 months, it's pretty dangerous when you go from, like, we're going to help you use those powers to you're strapped to a table and being, bombarded by light. So
yeah, so maybe something happened in the initial when they first grabbed him. Maybe he did some things that he didn't have control of, and they realized the potential of how dangerous he can be. So I don't know. Maybe.
And we may see that next episode. We don't know.
Yeah,
but
more flashbacks would be great for that, I think.
Yeah. So I liked that we got the flashback to last season when we see the darkness from Eclipso and the Shadowlands infect Green Lantern's ring and bringing it back. And we also get to see why Shade was having the issues with his powers. Like we've talked about, that Harley pointed out, and there's that bit of green when the Shade was transporting this season.
Yeah.
And he was not being able to heal, and so, like, this kind of explains that shadow infected the Green Lantern ring, but it also infected the powers of the Shadowlands as well.
Okay, I was wondering how that connected, how that worked there, because Shade draws his powers from the Shadowlands, and we're assuming Obsidian does as well. So that if something got in there, the Green Lantern light got in there and infected it a little bit, it'll just be like short-circuiting the shadow powers, basically.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
But I loved that Shade knew that it was Courtney, not Stargirl, who could help save he and Jade both. I love the fact that Courtney at this point is really down on herself after the events of last episode, and Shade recognizes it was Courtney that overcame the Shadowlands last season, the events that we saw last season, and not Stargirl.
Yeah.
And Harley brings up, doesn't he know the more cryptic he is, the more menacing he is? LOL. I do love the actor playing the character. He's so great.
Yeah, that we've all agreed that actor is just amazing, and he needs to be on the show regularly. Guest appearances are great, but don't let us go 4 or 5 episodes without seeing him.
Yeah.
And, because he knew that it was Jade. Jade was in the basement of the building, and she's there as herself. She's not there as this mysterious green energy force floating in the sky. So he figures, let's bring in her friend Courtney to talk to her and talk her down, and just be here as civilians and not as superpowered beings, because we're here to rescue her brother. That's going to take us to do it, not we're not going to go busting through walls and all that kind of stuff at this point in time. We're just here to do a little bit of reconnaissance.
Right.
Yeah. That was cool.
I'm really excited about this episode and next episode, because as much as I love a murder mystery, I agree with you, Flash, this one's gone on too long.
Yeah.
Now with the Shadowlands and the play on darkness and light of Jade and Obsidian, I think we're picking up steam. Like you, my only complaint is, I wish they would have done this earlier in the season, or maybe sprinkle a little more of this out through the season to make things a little. I mean, I know they're going to tie in this storyline with the other storyline, but I would have liked to have seen it earlier in the season, because I think we're picking up steam now because we're adding in these characters and this dynamic.
Yeah, no, totally. I exactly agree with you. It's taken too long. We're on what's the episode we're on now? Number 7.
7
out of 13.
Yeah,
so we're already past. We're just past the halfway mark. I guess 6.5 would be the halfway mark. So, the first 6 episodes, we thought we had a good beginning, and they just couldn't keep up the murder mystery thing. That ball they dropped big time, and it's been struggling to find a cohesive story that was intriguing enough to keep us vested. And I've just been finding as the episodes went on, I'm like, I'm losing my interest. And then all of a sudden this episode hits, and wow, like I said, so refreshing, something new, something different. This is great. And I'm with you. I'm excited to see what they're going to do. How much more info are we going to get? How many more flashbacks? What's going to happen? Is Jade going to find her brother? Are they going to come together? We're going to see what their powers do when they're side by side. There's so much to look forward to. I just hope they don't drop the ball on that one as well. Not we've got 6 more episodes to go now, or whatever. Let's see what they can amp it up and not leave it to the very end again. Let's do something now.
Yeah, I really think, I know we're getting back to the murder mystery because of episode titles, but I think bringing in this is going to be a key to help us move a little more forward. And we haven't got it confirmed at the Man in the Shadows, but I think it is Mr. Bones. But I am excited to see what they're going to do of bringing all of this into play.
Yeah, the fact that they introduced Mr. Bones' face again in the flashbacks here, like I've been making fun of, are they expecting the viewers to just be dumb to not make that connection? And now they're like, here's Mr. Bones in a flashback, and everyone's going to go, oh, that's him behind the desk. Well, no, we've kind of deduced that a long time ago. And if it's not him, I'll be really shocked to see who else could it possibly be. But
yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's get into the suspects. We've got Cindy. And it seems that Cindy has left town. Maybe she's searching for all of her dad's labs and trying to get an answer to her issues. But she is not in town at the moment.
Yeah, and that's something they're missing. They didn't really show us that. She didn't say to the team, hey, I'm leaving. Or, there was no goodbye. There's no parting ways. There's no, doesn't she have to let the school know? I'm not going to be at school for a couple weeks. There needed to be a little something to just let us know why she's gone and where she's gone. Because for her to just not be there was a little bit weird. And I think it's a big loss to this TV show if they don't include her for the rest of the season. They need to have her in it because Cindy has been the best part of the first 6 episodes.
Yeah, I don't think she'll be gone too long, but I don't think she will be in next episode either. I think maybe the episode after that, episode 9, that she may be back, because I think they just needed to clear out a little more room for other characters and things like that. So I think she'll definitely be back probably by episode 9. So
yeah, because her story was at least interesting, like what's happening to her. So I don't want to let go of that. I want that to continue so we can figure it out, and I want to know that the team is going to understand and accept her now and quit with the stupid teen angst drama between them. Let's have the team support her now so she can finally move on and feel like there is someone in her back corner.
Yeah. I agree. So, Mr. Bones, a figure in the shadows. The figure in the shadows knows the JSA is on to him, and it sure looks like Mr. Bones. We still don't have an on-screen reveal of his face
in the present time.
Yeah, in front of the monitors or whatever. But he was not happy when they shut off the power, to his feeds. He got upset and smashed his puzzle.
And now he's got to start all over again.
Yeah.
But what's funny is all this talk about us being for sure that it's Mr. Bones. There was an element in that moment when he smashed the puzzle and what was going on. It almost made me feel like, could that not be Mr. Bones? I don't know why. I don't know what the reason is, but there was an inkling of a feeling in me that it might not be him. And I don't know why. I can't explain why I felt that, but
yeah.
So,
I can see it. I can see it being a misdirect of having him put together the Bones puzzle.
Yeah.
So we will see. We will see.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
So Beth speculates that the man in the shadows killed the gambler when the gambler found the extra cameras. But is this the sole motivation? I am wondering, because we know the gambler paid back all the people he was blackmailing. And if he is paying back all those people that are, being blackmailed, that takes away, the power to blackmail them and make it look like it's still the gambler. Like, somebody could say, like, make those people being blackmailed think it's the gambler asking them to do things and things like that. And so I'm wondering if the gambler paying back all those people and finding the cameras both added together as the motivation to, as rage to kill him. So that's my thoughts.
Well, and to add to that, if you think about it, when you're blackmailing somebody, you're in control of them. You have the power held over their heads, forcing them to do something that they don't want to do. So the fact that the gambler was paying everybody off, they're no longer under that control. So everybody that he was basically setting free is reason enough to kill him over, because whoever it is in charge has now lost the control of all these people that were under that obligation. You're blackmailing me, I have to do this for you. So throw that in there, and now you've got your motivation. Why was the gambler killed? Again, who did it? Because there's just too many outstanding pieces of evidence. The growl, the lifting into the sky with nothing, the smashing of the trailer, like all these things that are not pointing to any one in particular person, and it's still up in the air. It's funny that we haven't gotten any more clues towards that. Who else might be in this game?
Yeah. It makes me wonder if this is Mr. Bones. What is his end game for watching the JSA? Does he want to recruit them? Is he wanting to use them?
Yeah.
What is the reason for going after them? I am really unsure, because at the end of last season, when he found out that the JSA and the people who were in the ISA were in the same community, that's really piqued his interest to look into the town. But what is the motivation? Like, how is he going to use that for his own game? I don't know. It's just good questions that lead us, to wonder and speculate. So, but I'm wondering what the end game is there.
And that's a fantastic question, because it really doesn't make any sense. Like, is he watching them just like, maybe this is the same way how he knows all about Jade and Obsidian? This is how he knows about everything. Is he just sits there in the shadows and studies everybody to learn everything about them, and then whatever decision he makes to decide what he's going to do about that information. That's left to be seen. But maybe that's all this is. He just watches until he can get every ounce of info out of it to know everything about who it is he's watching. But what the end game is, I have no idea. Like, I really don't know why. Like, is he looking to attack them? Maybe he's watching them to look for their weaknesses. Oh, okay, well, I know their family, so if I attack their family, I can get to them that way. Like, maybe he's looking for weaknesses. I mean, Mr. Bones, he looks like a skeleton. I can't see him being a good guy, and I'm going to recruit a team of heroes. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah, like I said, he is a very, granted, he is more out in the open in the comics because he has risen up in the political realm. Mm-hmm. But, like, the way that he could get Batwoman to work for him is, it wasn't public knowledge that Batwoman's sister was Alice, this villain. And so he was like, that he used that, and then he actually captured Alice and wasn't going to let her go unless, Batwoman did his beckoning and call, his beck and call. And so I think, if this is a political move to move beyond the Helix Institute, to move up in politics and be more of a power broker, I can see that where he can say, well, I have these people who will work for me if you let me take over this thing and give me more power and more ability. But who knows?
Yeah, I mean, all good ideas, but yeah, maybe we will get a little more of that now that he got upset and smashed his puzzle. Maybe he'll reveal himself now.
Yeah, who knows? But yeah, you do not want to touch him because basically you're going to feel very much pain or death. That's why he's got gloves and that kind of stuff. So
it was interesting, like the way he looked in the flashback this time. Is that how he looked when we saw him last season? That kind of see-through skin?
Yeah, that's pretty much who he is. Yeah. Like his skin and his organs are in the comics are invisible. They're there, but all you can see is his bones because of his condition. Yeah. So like he can eat and drink and do whatever. He's not like a living skeleton. He actually has flesh and bones. You just can't see it. Right.
It's just neat because when you watched him talking in the hallway there, you could see the outline of his skin. So as his mouth was moving, you could just see the bones going up and down, but you could still see the outline of his lips forming the words. And I was like, that is such a crazy thing. But to stare into empty eye sockets, that just creeps me out, man.
Yeah. Yeah, and in the comics, like, his bones are black. They're not even like, Yeah, so it's like, it's interesting. But
interesting, yeah. Well, hopefully it pans out. Hopefully he ends up being a worthy, like all this 7-episode build-up, I hope it leads up to something that makes it worth it. So,
yeah. Definitely.
Because there's a lot of weight. We're having to be very patient this season.
Yeah, definitely. Well, no lessons in normalcy this week. We took a break for that, and I guarantee you that we probably won't have any next week either. Yeah. So,
all right.
Since, that's what, we've talked about Barbara, and I think it's good that she's helping the Crocs out here, and I think maybe, like I was talking with earlier, that Barbara can help Yolanda's mom. Maybe she can talk to Yolanda's mom, since Yolanda's going to be staying with them, and maybe help her realize what's going on, even if she can't tell her, about the secrets. But you know, maybe being a second mom to Yolanda too is going to give Barbara something more to do. So
that might be a good idea. Although I don't know if Yolanda's mom will accept any help anyway, because she's pretty set in her ways. That she's got her beliefs and her ways, and she might not want to accept outside help. But I think Barbara being there for Yolanda and giving her a normal mother type of feeling, like a surrogate mom, then that might actually it might be good for her.
Yeah, I can definitely see that storyline continuing on into next season. So.
Yeah, more good stuff for Barb to have to do. So they need that home base. They need somebody at home that these young teens can come to, and when the world gets rough, they can come home and they know that there's someone there they can lean on for just comfort and support.
Definitely.
Because they don't have to. I mean, Barb and Pat, they don't have to suit them up and make them heroes as well. I mean, we've seen other TV shows make that mistake. Everybody gets powers. Let's just do it. Well, let's go from that into our favorite scenes for this week.
Shape out an eagle!
And mine is up first this week because I'm pretty much right at the beginning of the episode. In fact, there's credits still rolling on screen when my scene takes place. But I'm calling this one Enter the Darkness, and it's just the big introduction to Obsidian / Todd, because a lot of info gets revealed about him and what Helix already knows, and the name drop of Green Lantern and all that. It's just, and it kicked this episode off with so much fun, new stuff, and like I said, fresh things to have on our show that I was immediately, this is going to be good. We're finally going somewhere. So that's why I picked this clip. So here's a bit of Obsidian.
Happy birthday, by the way.
Happy birthday?
You're 18 today. It's a real milestone, Todd.
How do you know me? Who are those cops?
Friends of ours, of Helix.
Helix?
It's a place for youth such as yourself. Troubled youth. Special youth. Your father was a man named Alan Scott?
Yeah, so?
What else do you know about him?
I know that he's dead.
Of course. When he lived, he was the wielder of great power. And you know that, don't you? Your father was the Green Lantern.
What is all this?
It's hope. You see, I understand what it is to be different, Mr. Rice. But different can be good.
See, now that's how you start an episode. The music, the intrigue, the mystery, and the whoa, like what's happening. That was a good opening.
Keith David is just, I mean, did the voice, Gargoyles, and he's done, Ken Burns documentaries. He's done a lot of stuff. He's just got that powerful voice. So they picked the right actor to do the voice for Mr. Bones.
I was just going to ask, who is voicing him? Because the voice sounds familiar. Like I feel like I should know it from somewhere.
Yeah. So, all right. Next up is mine. And I called it "You Started All That." So let's take a listen.
Hey.
Hey.
You okay?
Yeah, Sylvester's plan is good.
I don't mean with the plan. I mean, are you okay with everything else?
Someone's been spying on us, Pat. We don't know who or for how long. All I'm worried about is finding them.
That's all? Oh, thanks.
Well, no. But how can I talk about my own problems when we're dealing with some kind of psycho voyeur?
You can talk to me about anything, all right? You know that. And I'm sorry that things are difficult right now with you and Yolanda and the others not getting along.
It's my fault. I screwed up by keeping what was happening with Cameron to myself, and now Cindy's gone along with any credibility I had as the leader of the JSA. I mean, forget leader. I don't even know if they're still my friends.
Of course they are.
They don't need me anymore, Pat. They have Starman now.
Hey, Starman's not the one who recruited them. And he's not the one who made those kids grow into who they are today. You started all of that.
Maybe that's all I was supposed to do, Pat. Is get them started.
I don't think you believe that any more than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. You know, Pat finally getting to jump back in, the advice giving and being there for his stepdaughter there, and just being able to encourage her when she really needed it. That it's because of her that they are where they are, because she saw that value in those people. Mm-hmm. So I really appreciated it. You know, it's a different style than Sylvester gives, and I love seeing Pat share.
Yeah, and Courtney's got to remember to still go to him for help and not start relying on Starman all the time. Because Starman is kind of feeding her exactly what she wants to hear, or Pat's kind of giving her a little bit more of a stand-back approach. So, yeah.
Yeah.
She needs to not forget about Pat.
Yeah, definitely.
And while we were listening to that clip, I was looking up Keith David. Holy cow! This guy has over 360 movie film credits and TV credits to his name on IMDb. This guy has been everywhere. He's actually voiced, I can't even count. He's done voice acting for so much. But I don't know if this sounds familiar, he was actually on The Flash for 3 episodes as Solivar. Yeah.
Yep. And the interesting tie to Joel McHale, he and Joel McHale were both in Community together. He kind of came in at the end of the run of Community, and so he was one of the characters there. So they actually shared some screen time there.
Yeah. As soon as you see him, you'll recognize. Like, I couldn't picture him as soon as I pulled up his IMDb profile. I'm like, oh, yes, I know this guy. He's everywhere. Like he is all over the place. But
yeah.
One of the movies that I remember him a lot, he was in Cloud Atlas, and that's one of my favorite movies with Tom Hanks. He was a character in that, so that was a really good role. There's just tons. I'm just scrolling. It's his IMDb goes on forever. But yeah, tons and tons of stuff. So it's just a really good voice actor to have for the show. Whether he's the guy that's under the mask or not, or we don't. I doubt he's probably just the voice, but.
Yeah, as far as I know, he's just the voice. There's somebody else on screen. So
that's all we got for you this week for favorite scenes. Harley did not get one on there for us to be able to play, but I'm sure she appreciates the 2 that we picked. Let's remind everybody about our Patreon support. That's how you can support the show and all the hard work that we do, and you get to be part of some bonus content that we are slowly rolling out. We have our Patreon hangouts where we all get together and just talk about something for a couple hours, and then you get extra feedback questions in that we answer only to you guys on Patreon, and you get the odd gift once in a while. I just sent out everybody a bunch of Tomorrow's Legends stickers that they can apply to. They're like removable, reusable stickers. They're pretty neat. So it's just our main logo, but and if you ask Mr. Perry White, he's got a whole collection because he's won so many of our contests. He's got sweaters and T-shirts and books and all kinds of stuff. So
yeah,
if you want to get in on all that fun stuff, this is what you got to do.
If you'd like to support our podcast, you can do so at our Patreon page at www.patreon.com/tomorrowslegends.
It's feedback, your time to speak up. Believe it or not, what you think and you say means a lot to us. But why should we sit here and wait if you won't hurry up? So feedback or simply shut up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Dan Caverly, for those wonderful feedback jingles as well. It's actually funny, about 10 minutes ago he called, while we're recording here. I just saw the phone light up, and I was like, Dan, you're phoning at the wrong time. But he didn't know. So I'll have to see what that was up about afterwards. Maybe he's got new jingles for us. Who knows? Let's start it off with an email from Comic Geek Kev. And I haven't read Comic Geek Kev for a while. He says, "Hey, Legends. Great episode. Finally getting to see Todd/Obsidian Yolanda standing up to her mom and a cliffhanger ending. Ordway home for children? I see what you did there. Nice to see the Shade back, and as egotistical as ever, entangling him with Todd and Jenny was a nice idea. Yeah. The Bones effect is really cool. I would have never thought that we'd see it in live action, especially on a CW show." Yeah.
Yep.
It seems like Stargirl's got a bit more bucks for the effects this year. Everything's looking really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Obviously, Rick is going to be a problem being powered up 24/7. You'd think he'd be smart enough to know where there was a reason for the limiter. Yeah. As we discussed. Zeke needs more screen time, but there's already such a large cast. I can see why he doesn't get it. Maybe with Pat in the Shadowlands, Stripe will need a fill-in driver.
Ooh, wow.
Yeah, instead of Mike. Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe Zeke builds his own robot, and he's like a sidekick to Stripe. That would be fun. And all of a sudden our show turns into, you remember those old Japanese animations with the giant robots? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Robotech
or Star Avengers or Guy King. There's all these ones I used to watch. Yeah, those are funny.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he goes on, "I really thought we would see something to explain the behavior of Yolanda's mother, but I guess she's just that mom. And that's fine. I was just hoping for some interesting backstory. And I love that Barbara just reached out to Yolanda and immediately hugged her. Now that's a mom." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
"I'd love to see an Infinity Inc. show, but it looks like the CW/DC shows are fading, and HBO doesn't seem that interested in shows or superhero streaming movies. I don't see it being a big theatrical release, as most people in the general public don't know the characters involved. Even an animated show would be cool." Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I give this episode 9 out of 10. Blackout bombs. Until next time, Comic Geek Kev.
Good thoughts.
Yeah,
good
9 out of 10.
thoughts.
High marks there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Even me, myself, I don't know a lot about Infinity Inc. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see more.
Yep.
Cool. Thanks a lot, Kev. Next up is Perry White.
Hey, Cosmic Crew. Perry White here with feedback for the Stargirl episode, Infinity Inc. Part 1. So y'all have heard me say I'm a sucker for a murder mystery, right? I mean, Murder on the Orient Express was great, and I highly recommend it. Death on the Nile had some interesting performances, but it probably wasn't as good. And Knives Out is an absolute favorite of mine. And I'm a fan of Scooby-Doo from way back. So I was thrilled when Breck Bassinger said this season was going to have a Knives Out feel to it. Maybe it kind of does, if you squint a little bit, okay? There are 3 things that are important when it comes to a murder mystery. I mean, you have to sort of highlight and focus on an interesting and peculiar type sleuth or detective. You have to absolutely arouse curiosity through your storytelling, and you have to generate true suspense. I must say, Stargirl has maybe generated a bit of curiosity, but it doesn't have that one sleuth with peculiar and odd habits to make it fun. I think The Shade could have filled that role perfectly, but I'll get back to that later. And because we don't have the kind of tension and dread that you would get from, say, like a normal show, like something like Only Murders in the Building, it's just been tough for the show to generate true and real suspense. So by those metrics, I have to say their attempt at developing a murder mystery have failed. And that sort of, it came into real focus in this episode as far as I'm concerned, because I was immediately pulled into the story of Mr. Bones and Todd and how Jennie and the Shade's powers had gotten intertwined. I mean, in one episode, they generated suspense because they showed us how frustrating the problem had become for both Shade and Jennie. And we see that the Shade is in actual jeopardy because of it, and to the same degree, so is Jennie. And we also saw how Todd was being tormented and the chaotic nature of his powers. And the entire time I was wondering, what was Mr. Bones' endgame, right? And they did all this in one episode, when in contrast, we spent the entire first half of the season on a murder mystery that, quite frankly, has not been executed nearly as well. So, give me another injection of Infinity Ink, please, and let the last half of the season unspool from the mysteries that have been generated here. And if they show us a clever way of how the gambler's death fits into all that, then that would be perfect too. But to be honest, I feel like Mr. Bones, he looks like and feels like he just sort of likes to manipulate folks and keep an eye on people. And maybe he only killed the gambler because he found those hidden feeds and he wanted to spy on our heroes and villains himself. I mean, that would be practical, actually. But, I mean, if that's true, it sort of feels kind of like a letdown. Anyway, I know it sounds like I'm down on the season, but I'm not. I just think the execution of the murder mystery has been lacking. But what I've really loved this season, in the past couple episodes in particular, I've loved the pacing for the most part. I've really liked some interesting new character interactions. I mean, you pair Zeke with anyone and I want to watch it. I really like seeing Cindy get paired with a bunch of folks, but particularly Mike and Jakeem. I thought that was fun. And it's been interesting seeing Starman interact with all the young members of the JSA, even if he's giving them lame brain and scattershot types of advice. Anyway, I just had to get that all off my chest because this episode, man, it was just refreshing to see it. And it just feels like this is what we sort of should have been getting all season, and I just can't figure out why we didn't get to this sooner. Anyway, I'm giving this episode 9 awkward dinner table conversations you know are being recorded by an unhinged villain out of 10. Fun facts, if you hadn't been made aware, maybe most of you social media folks have already heard about this, but fun facts. According to Breck Bassinger's Twitter account, the hallway scene that they had, it was filmed on the Doom Patrol set. In the dinner scene, she said that they sort of just let the cameras roll during the dinner scene, obviously getting some improv takes and that sort of thing. And apparently it ended with Pat praying the Pledge of Allegiance, which was really freaking fun. Anyway, this has been Perry White making his deadline one more time. I'm out.
Yeah, and I'm right with you on your thoughts about the mystery of this season. The real mystery is, where's the mystery? Like, what happened to it? and as for your reference to Knives Out, the only Knives Out I see is when Sydney happens to expose one of her shivs, because I'm with you, Carrie. I just don't know. I don't know about this season. This episode gave me a lot more hope, and I'm excited for where it goes from here.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and after that is Dad L.
Hello, Cosmic Crew. It's Dad L again. I want to say that I love this week's opening scenes. It reminded us of Jade, where she was, and introduced her brother. It moves things along very quickly. It got things going. I thought it was tightly written. It was fast-paced. It was quick exposition, and I loved it. And I would ask more of this from the writers and showrunners, please. So far, we've gotten 2 major clues to indicate the gambler was killed by more than one person. If you remember the clue that was inscribed in the bathroom, that the killer has many names, and this week, all the cameras that the killer touched. So what is up there? So I think there's obviously some big twist that's coming with that. But who could the group be that's responsible? I have no idea. Could it be actually the folks from Helix? I guess we'll find out. And I'm also not entirely convinced that the person watching the monitors, the cameras this week was Mr. Bones. At first I thought it was obvious, but now I'm not so sure. I don't know. Just something seems like maybe he's not the one. And anytime that Shade and Zeke make an appearance, that bumps up the episode in my book. These are fantastic supporting characters. I love listening to Zeke's stories. He has a great comedic element. It's just an overall interesting character. And I'm glad we're going back to the Shadowlands as well. So for this week, my rating is going to be 8 interesting Zeke stories. Dad Al, Last Father of Krypton.
Yep.
Good point. Good point.
He made me realize that we didn't cover one key part of this episode, X-Force. He brought up the cameras and stuff. And we've been speculating, where are these cameras? What do they look like? And how did the whoever it is that's watching get them all in there? And we thought, oh, maybe it's just security cameras. They're hacking into people's webcams and into their house security cameras and the street cameras. Some cities have security cameras on buildings and stuff. But we saw in this episode that they're little tiny dime-sized cameras that are actually built into the homes. Like when Pat was going around taking them out, there are these little tiny cameras that are built into his basement, into the pillars holding up his basement ceiling and into the walls and all.
Right.
And that completely throws me for a loop now, because how did anybody get those in there and when?
Yeah, I still think that some of them were the gamblers, but not all of them. And the whole point of bringing up all the cameras that this person had touched for the wish, like we see all those cameras throughout the years that he had touched, all those different models of cameras.
But I mean, just look at in Pat's basement. Those little cameras were in the wall and they were wired up. Like somebody had to be there at the time of building the house to have a camera wired into the infrastructure of the home. Like it just doesn't. That part I don't understand. How did they get there and why? Like it's crazy because that. And there wasn't just one in the basement. They took out 3 down there.
yeah, definitely.
I don't know. So I hope they explain that a little bit further.
Yeah, me too.
Cool. Well, excellent feedback, fellas. If you guys want to become part of the show, and we hope that you do. Hopefully, maybe with the viewership numbers rising again, and we're moving into the second half of the season, and it seems like it's getting a little more interesting. Maybe we'll get more feedback. We'll have to see. I do want to touch base. I did check in with our friend Dreamweaver just to find out, hey, where are you? How's things going? Because we haven't heard from her all season, and she's just busy. She's working. She got a second job. And she's been working a lot, so she's actually behind even in watching Stargirl, so she's not able to keep up. Mm-hmm. But I did ask her about her thoughts, where she's at with it, and she kind of expressed almost similar to what I've been saying and what a lot of us have been saying, that she feels that the show has kind of slowed down. She really felt like our characters aren't going anywhere. She says there was so much development, so much growth in Season 1, and then Season 2 and Season 3, it's kind of just gone stale, and she's kind of lost some interest in the character stories and the development. So she really enjoyed what Cindy was doing, and she hasn't seen this week's episode, so I'm curious what she's going to think about the Jade and Obsidian stuff. But she just feels like the stories are stuck. Our characters are stuck. They're not going anywhere. And I was like, that's kind of how I'm feeling. So I get you. Yeah. So there you go. So getting some feedback. Here's what you got to do.
If you would like to be a part of the show, you can send in your feedback to Tomorrow's Legends Podcast at gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at Tomorrow's Legends. We'd love you to join our Facebook page at facebook.com/groups/Tomorrow's Legends and become part of the community.
All right, so next week is Chapter 8, Infinity Inc. Part 2.
Mm-hmm.
And, we'll see where this takes us, what ends up happening on that show. But I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, they've revealed all the episode titles for the rest of the season, and but we knew that this two-parter was coming. We didn't know when, but I'm just psyched to see what we're going to see this week. And CW is pretty tight. They, like last week, they didn't release promo images until like late Monday or early Tuesday. Looks like the same case right now. I just went and looked before we started recording, and they hadn't released any promo images for part 2 yet, so they're holding things tight to the chest. So,
well, do the titles give anything away?
So the titles, not really. It is. Let me just move over here. So, Chapter 9 is the monsters. Chapter 10 is the killer. Chapter 11 is the bullying. Chapter 12, the last will and testament of Sylvester Pimbleton. And Chapter 13, the season finale, is the reckoning. So,
well, if that second last one doesn't say what's going to happen to Sylvester, I don't know. Like what?
Yeah, that could be a misdirect, but who knows? I don't know.
Totally be a misdirect. But boy. Huh, interesting. Okay, yeah, so it just leaves you guessing. Cool.
Yep.
But, yeah, like I said, hopefully it picks up from here and keeps going, because this was a really strong episode. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, other than that, check out the Mandalore podcast if you're into watching Star Wars on Disney+. We got the Andor coverage. I'm actually going to be recording that later on tonight in a couple hours. Episode 7 there as well. And Cybercast. Check out Cybercast. I'm still hoping for more feedback on the episode I want to do about pet peeves. I might have to release a poll to maybe get people to answer more. But Cybercast just released my review of Black Adam. I will post that in the Facebook page too if you haven't subscribed to Cybercast yet. But I did a quick... usually my reviews are 10 minutes, but Black Adam got 20 minutes. So, yeah, I had a lot to say about it.
Yeah, and if you are interested in a little more depth and an in-depth discussion and want to contribute, Dive Into DC is doing that as their next one. So you've got another week or two to get that in.
Yeah, so with Dive Into DC, where you're able to send in your own feedback. You can actually say, hey, I love Black Adam or whatever, you hated it. So where my reviews are just a quick review to help you decide if you want to go see it or not, Dive Into DC will get into it a lot more, and you guys can share your thoughts and everything and be part of that show, which they love it. They love it if you get feedback. I'm going to send in feedback. I'm going to truncate everything I said and send in feedback. So, yeah, they love it because it gives them other perspectives and angles, just like you guys do for us here. So,
yeah, exactly.
That'll be good. Good stuff. And then hopefully Harley's back with us for next week. Did we get... You said Superman and Lois, we don't know when that's coming back. And
still no release date.
So when this ends early December, we'll probably have a month and a half, 2 months off, roughly, right?
Yeah, probably. I would assume, this ends the 7th, and then I wouldn't think that Superman and Lois would be back until the last week of January or the first week of February. Okay. So that's been typical.
Well, there you go, guys. That's all the updates for you. Everyone have a good rest of their work week. I know we're 2 days late getting this to you. Take care. This is The Flash signing off.
This is X-Force 11. So say we all.
Tomorrow's Legends is not affiliated with CBS, Warner Brothers, HBO, or the CW. We're a fan-made podcast for entertainment purposes only and are part of the Cybercast network. Be sure to check out our partner shows, The Mandalore and Dive Into DC, covering your favorite Star Wars and DC Comics properties. Thanks for listening.